Hey there everyone, AJ back again for the Mighty Glue Stick channel. Today, let's take a closer look at another iconic fantasy creature, the Griffin, Felis Aquila. Have you played World of Warcraft or seen the Warcraft movie? Because that game and movie have some awesome Griffin scenes. I have had some gnarly combat encounters with Griffins in my D&D games. One in particular, a deadly fight as characters were climbing the side of a ruin in the Silver Marches, sticks in my memory because it was very challenging for the players. Unexpectedly so, actually, for me as a dungeon master. They are creatures taken directly from mythology and the art of heraldry. Introduced in the very first white box edition of Dungeons & Dragons back in 1974, they were described as being the most prized of steeds and fond of horseflesh. Later editions fill in more details, such as their habit of finding cliffs and rocky habitats from which to build their nests. Dragon Magazine number 161, published in September 1990, gave us a full ecology of the Griffin by Christopher Kitteridge, and is one of the best Dragon Magazine cover art pieces, in my opinion, incidentally. Griffins have the head, wings, and usually the front limbs of an eagle, and the body, lower legs, and tail of a lion. There's many variations in the species based on the region, world, or plane that they came from, because they are present on many worlds of the D&D multiverse. On Faerun, the average Griffin is 8 to 9 feet long, with a wingspan of at least 25 feet, and weighs around 500 pounds. So they're powerful, majestic, and fierce magical beasts, which means that the origin of the Griffin is artificial, not a product of natural evolution or divine creation. One common variation is that many Griffins have prominent tufted ears on their head, while other variations do not, and some have the tail of a lion, some have the tail of an eagle, some have the front legs of a lion instead of eagle talons, and some have a body completely covered in feathers, while some are mostly covered with lion fur with just a head and wings, possibly forelimbs being feathered. Most have bright yellow, green, blue, or silvery eyes. Some have bright scarlet, such as Brightwing, the female griffin ridden by the Thayan war mage Aoth Fezim. Griffin breeders tend to select mates for their superior capabilities and flight and demeanour, more than for their purely cosmetic reasons. But it seems most Griffins can interbreed, which is surprising considering many of their morphological differences. But they are magical creatures and extremely hardy. The lifespan of a Griffin is very long, some serving the same family for several generations. Actual lifespan is dependent on many factors, of course, but they can live for several centuries in optimal conditions, and the average mature adult in the wild will be around 150 years old. Griffins combine the strongest traits of swift-winged birds of prey and hunting beasts of the land. Their greatest assets are their brawny bodies and their acute senses that let them pick up the slightest sound and can see clearly for miles. A lone Griffin can take down an elephant, or can carry a horse and its rider back to its nest to eat. So powerful. Griffins hunting in packs are a serious threat to even large predators like dragons or large groups of humanoids on the move. The branches of Griffin kind, hippogriffs and griffins, share a reputation as terrors of the skies. With their leonine bodies and dagger-like claws, Griffins prey on almost anything, including other hippogriff cousins, which is one of the main reasons Griffins have such an intense reaction to horses. It's almost impossible to tame or breed away the instinct of the horse and Griffin to hate each other, and if you let this slip your mind for even a moment, you are going to end up with a very well-fed Griffin and one very dead horse. In the wild, out in the plains, near rugged mountains or sea cliffs, you can see the occasional veteran walking sadly back to civilization, saddle lugged on their shoulder, and as they wisely abandon their trusted steed in favour of living another day. Just a fact of life in the Dungeons & Dragons worlds. Also, Griffins do not exist in isolation. There is an ecology of Felis Aquila species, the hippogriff, the griffin, which come in a wide variety of forms, very hardy and adaptable species. There are also fully domesticated species of griffin pets, which are absolutely dynamite for hunting pest species and vermin in agricultural or urban areas. Wild griffin have an entirely practical language of their own. It consists of squawks and growls, which they can use to convey terms related to flying, hunting, weather, and the visual appearance of things. It's not suited to abstract concepts. Yeah, for instance, Aoth could communicate with Brightwing because he understood some of her clacks and whistles and warbles and things, but he artificially enhanced her intelligence with magic anyway, so she was a bit smarter than your average griffin. They either operate alone or more commonly in a pride of 4 to 8, which only nest close together if prey is very abundant in the area. Otherwise, they tend to have a very large hunting area and behave a little more aggressively towards each other. But griffins do not kill each other. They will fight and may inflict injuries, but they don't hunt and eat other griffins, nor can they be ordered to kill another griffin. They will hunt and kill a hippogriff, though, without hesitation, and the two species do not like each other at all. They mate for life. The female lays 2 agate-coloured eggs that hatch within 4 weeks. The male hunts for food while she guards the young with her life. Even a completely tame griffin will kill to protect its eggs and young. Griffin eggs fetch around anything from 2,000 to 5,000 gold pieces if they're up for sale. The sale of griffin eggs is obviously something that local authorities will want to control, so buying them on the black market is very rare. Most trainers are very skilled professionals, and most of them will quickly tell you that griffins are not easy to train, but certainly a hell of a lot easier to handle than an owl bear. They say that it is critical that the fledgling and owner begin training before the griffin's first feathers grow in at about 3 months, at which point they will have bonded with their owner. The trainer will say that they really just stand back and give detailed, careful instruction, ready to step in to stop any aggression. The training of a griffin and its rider is a slow process of familiarity, trust, and, well, nothing really prepares a rider for the first flight on the back of a giant bird or a griffin. Unlike the Pickett, the griffin bobs up and down in flight quite a lot, and riders usually take 11 to 16 weeks to get competent. This can be reduced by 2 to 5 weeks if they use spells like Speak with Animals, and in the end it comes down to dexterity. You either have what it takes or you get broken bones. It's plain and simple. Griffins need to be coaxed into their first flight, and this is very important to train them to hunt from the beginning, and they need to hunt in order to maintain a good state of mental health. A rider must also train them in any behaviours that they want a griffin to master in combat or for special uses of their other abilities later in life, such as dropping objects onto targets from the sky, picking up and carrying people or animals without hurting them, and using its strength to do things like bend bars or rip holes in walls. Griffins are trained using voice commands only. You do not use a bridle on them. You don't brand them, you don't hobble them or put them into a cage. They are roosted in a booth or stall with no doors, with open access to the sky above the ground, and as close as possible to their natural kind of nesting environment. Otherwise, they will refuse to eat and become very aggressive. If the custom-made saddle is constructed out of horse leather, they will eat it. So something like crocodile is better. Griffins are very loyal mounts. They are also very problematic and demanding compared to something like a horse. First of all, unlike the more omnivorous hippogriff, the griffin is a carnivore, pure and simple. It has a huge appetite. They need 25 to 30 pounds of meat per day, 38 to 45 pounds per day if they're carrying a mount on a solid day of long-distance flight. The natural inclination of a griffin is to gorge on a huge amount of meat and not eat for a few days, so riders must take care not to let the griffin eat more than 60 pounds of meat, or they become lethargic and their flight is hampered quite a bit. Also, they will become lazy, and if there's much time between them flying with a rider, so owning a griffin is very much a lifestyle. You have to keep at it. More than a simple choice of mount. It's really, a bond between your griffin and your mount and your rider. Care and keeping of a griffin will be a constant strain on the largest treasure hoard. Costs will probably run in the area of 300 to 600 gold pieces per month. It will require special quarters, at least 3 grooms and keepers, and occasionally an entire horse for dinner. As I mentioned, they can be trained to use their strength while on the ground, and they are very strong, stronger than a full-grown Siberian tiger. Their front claws of theirs are lethal weapons, as is the deep gouging wounds they can inflict in seconds with the razor-sharp beak. The lifting capacity of a griffin is sufficient to carry a horse and rider into the air. Their talons are perfectly designed to shred flesh, inflict grievous lacerations, and biting deep to hook into the prey and carry them up to their roost. Anything they don't consider to be family or another griffin is potentially food or a threat, and they can be extremely dangerous creatures to keep in urban areas. They will kill a child who climbs a wall to take a peek at the famous griffin pen, so keep in mind. The adventurers who climb the wall of a ruined castle or scale the sides of a steep cliff may suddenly find themselves in severe danger with the furious aggression of a griffin attack. While the 5th edition Monster Manual lists their intelligence as 2, which is basic animal level, they're actually not that stupid in practice. The wisdom of 13 reflects their very sharp eyesight and awareness of the environment. They don't generally have a great sense of smell, and a limited sense of taste, but their hearing is more than equal to a human, and they are skilled predators. While they're not smart enough to come up with very innovative plans from moment to moment, they are equipped with instinctual hunting abilities that can seem very cunning. For instance, they will identify the gleam of metal armor and seek to grab and hurl the target from at least 80 feet up in the air onto the solid ground below, concentrating its aggression on the softest and weakest looking prey first. Predators looking for a meal don't go for the most difficult prey, they go for the easiest, so given the choice, the griffin will ignore the rider and eat the horse instead, and they will certainly target the young or old and slow first in any group of animals or people. When making attacks on the wing, griffins rarely attack with their beak as well. They attack with their talons. They'll just make claw attacks, since a severe injury to the beak is more likely to be a lethal injury to a griffin than a damaged limb. However, if high above the ground and attacking large prey such as a rock, wyvern or a dragon, they will often latch on and use their claws and beak to inflict as much damage to the wings and neck of the target as possible. Cloud and storm giants are certainly known to raise griffins, both because they love them, they probably are the ones who were responsible for creating griffins in the first place, and for their efficiency in taking a dragon out of the sky. As you can imagine, adult griffins cannot be sold as mounts, unless magic is used to control them all the time. They are regal, proud, and majestic creatures, and many people would object to such a treatment of them, though. Some of the first humanoids to regularly keep and ride griffins are the Tilindrothael of an ancient Netherall. Currently, the most famous roosts belong to the Griffin Guard of Waterdeep, the Griffin Legion of Thay, and the famous mercenary company formed from that legion known as the Brotherhood of the Griffin, which is where Brightwing comes from, which is still around as far as I know after the famous Battle of Luthkek, the capital city of Chesenta. But that's another story for another time. Griffins are fabulous creatures. They are certainly one of my favourite wilderness encounters, and characters who put the effort in to become a griffin rider are pretty damn legendary. Certainly feel free to introduce the idea of tame little house griffins, like the winged Tressym cats of Cormyr, or cities where it is common to keep guard drakes. That's certainly very interesting, and it certainly adds flavour to any game when you add little tidbits like that, like some exotic pet that's reasonably common. You go around to some noble's house and they've got a tame griffin pet that curls up in your lap, and they say, "Oh, be careful," and it like shreds your leather pants because its front claws are lethal. That's about it. Thanks for listening. I'll be back for more for you very soon. Just a reminder, if you've not subscribed already, feel free to do so. For advanced access to my videos as soon as they're uploaded and access to all the scripts and occasional special offers, consider becoming a patron of the channel on Patreon for a minimum of just $1 per month. Link down below. Join the community in our Discord server. Come say hi. Also link down below. And other links of interest. Thanks for listening, everyone. I'll be back with more for you very soon.